All right, guys, I want to thank you for supporting all the mixing videos I just put out. So we're going to continue the melody series right here at busyworksbeats.com. I'm going to show you guys how to create modern day melodies. So we're going to start with guitar melodies. If you struggle with making melodies, try stringed instruments like guitar, piano, violin. Start with string instruments and then move your way into synthetic stuff. Okay, so here we have the Kontakt library called Veer2 Acoustics. This is a really good plugin. I understand it's extremely expensive, however. So if you guys can't really afford that, I'd look at the Ample Sounds, Ample Sound Ample Guitar L, which is called the Luthier, which is a nylon guitar. So what we're gonna do, it's just a different sound though. Okay, so this one has a little bit more body in the tone. We're just gonna turn off these effects. We don't want any effects on it, no reverb, no anything. Okay, so let's show you guys how to play the chords on a guitar. The main thing you need to understand is we're gonna use what are called seventh chords because they have 4 notes in it. So we're not gonna play it this way. As you can hear, it sounds weird. Doesn't sound natural. Okay, but here's the chord type. Now, chords are your kind of foundation for melody. If you skip over chords, you're not really gonna comprehend melody. Okay, but instead of drawing it out this way, we're actually gonna do what's called raise the third. So we're gonna play F at the top here. So we're just pulling this F up an octave. And all we gotta do now is just strum. Okay, so again, the reason we use seventh chords is because there's 4 notes. Okay, so it has a nice rhythm to it. Okay, so let's record D minor, which is what we just played. See how we can just go down the keys. And then we're going to combine the 2 guitars because they're slightly different in tone. So let's do the chord layer first. So here are the 4 components you need for melodies and composition. You have what's called the top line. This is going to be your memorable part to the melody, usually the highest frequency. We have the harmony section, we have the contrast section, and then we have rhythm. Now, I used to think that people did melodies in one shot. I didn't realize they would layer stuff in their melodies. Okay, so what we're doing here is beginning the layer. So by me playing rhythmically like this, we're playing a rhythm and we're playing a chord. I could play it like this. I forgot what I just played, but all right, anyway, let's just start recording here. We don't want to overly think, but that's the process. Okay, so we have 4 chords that we split apart into this melodic structure. Now what I might do here is I might repeat it. So let's copy this over and just add the half step down. All right, so we're gonna go to the tools here, remove overlaps. That will get rid of any overlapping notes. Let's slice these end notes here. Just have it repeat. Okay, now let's go with the second guitar here. So remember, this is a harmony and a rhythm, okay? So this will be our kind of established rhythm. We're just gonna do basic beats or half beats or quarter beats, whatever it is, whatever the number is. Okay, and then we're gonna go to Kontakt and let's open up where's our thing? Let's go back to classic view, the Veer Acoustics. So now we can add little expressions over top. So I kind of freestyle, but that was kind of hard. So what I'm gonna do is improv, just going up and down the scale using my pitch wheel. That's the main thing for this kind of R&B sound. So we're gonna start at A and then we're gonna work our way down to the D note. And then we're gonna go down. So let's just keep practicing. let's come up with like a motif. A motif is a pattern based in rhythm. It's just something that's catchy. Usually it's in threes. So it could be something like that. It's just a repeating pattern. Let's start there. Okay, and that dun, dun, dun is a repeating pattern too. So the dun, dun is a repeating pattern. We do it many times here. One, two. Okay, so these are repeating structures. So we have kind of an A, dun, 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 and then we have a B. So these are repeating motifs. 1, 2, boom. 1, 1, 2. Truly, this is the whole pattern. 1, 1, 2. That's the pattern there. 1, 1, 2. So we have 2 of those patterns, and then we have like a call pattern and a response pattern. If we were to make a longer melody, we could repeat this dun, 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 whether to start out the melody or just repeat it throughout. And then we have the response, what people call and response. The response is the 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay, so we have something fast, something slow. Now let's look at the contrast layer. Usually this is the bass. So I'm just gonna pick a different bass. Usually I would go with Trillium, but let's do something different here. Let's go to bass here, and let's just try different. I wanna do higher octaves here, not lower octaves. Try different tones here. So I might repeat the top line and the bass. I like that pattern. Okay, so one of the notes was wrong. This should be E. So all we're really doing is just repeating the top line, just in a subtly different timing. Now, if you want to get fancy, you could pan the bassier sound to the left, and higher frequency to the right. I don't think we need to do this, however, for this track. Okay, now let's add supporting chords, because right now, so again, normally I would do this with my keyboard, but I'm just pulling a plugin so you guys can see different ideas. So let's do this with the felt piano. Now here I might even introduce chord extensions. So we play, what was it, D? I might play the minor 11th version. Let's just try those. It might be a little too jazzy, but let's try it. It's kind of hard to hear. So I don't like the syncopated. Here's what we're gonna do. Let's clone this over and take out the strum guitar, the pick guitar. And now let's introduce harmony, but this time with chord extensions. This is why I said chords are so important. People skip over chords. Chords are basically everything about melody. Let's add this. So let's figure out the next chords. So we need this D minor, ninth. Just gonna do chord by chord here. So so we have D minor, F major ninth. Again, we're just doing by ear by the top note. So now we might switch the chord type from major to minor here. Okay, I figured out what we're gonna do. So just copy the notes, guys. That's the simple answer. I went down to the next chord, but kept the same top note. So it keeps that same kind of tension, but we changed the vibe underneath. Okay, so now we have the chords. We let the melody guide us, and then we reverse engineer those chords. I teach all this stuff at busyworksbeats.com/music theory in a day. I'll leave the link below. So if you guys need help, writing melodies, writing chords, there's a system to it. And we're not done. We still need to pick sounds and add little ear candy stuff. What I'm going to do is make the second half of this chord match the actual chord progression. This, because we have a raised third, I'm just going to do this by ear. But if you guys struggle, what you could do is take this chord progression, copy it, or hit Control X, I should say, cut it, and then paste it into, where were we? I forgot what sound we were using. And then paste it into the same channel as your chord progression. And then what you could do is use ghost notes. So go to the top left here, go to view, go to ghost channel. And in the background, it will show you the chord type. So you can kind of eyeball where you are tonally. Okay, so again, we're going to do this by ear. See right here, we have, to make this simpler, okay, we're going to take the thirds and just pull them down an octave so we could actually see the actual chord type. So make it a lot easier. Okay, so we're playing the same chord here. Here, it looks like we changed the chord up. So we're going to move this around to match the actual chord type. And here we have the wrong chord type. Let's pull this up. Now, when you have, because we started off with 7th chords and then we moved to 9th chords. So to keep that same 4-note vibe, we have to decide which 4 notes of the 5-note chord we want. So we definitely need the 9th in order to create that melodic tone. So we need to sacrifice something. So let's sacrifice what's called the perfect 5th, okay, which is this note here. And now we just need to come up with a melodic way to get to the 9th. So let's just rearrange these notes here. get rid of the fifth. So it looks like the pattern is going to be root note, third, seventh, ninth. Okay, so that gives us a rhythmic 4-note bounce. And we're also keeping the ear latched onto that chord extension. Okay, so it's just a way of thinking. But you can omit the fifth when you have ninth chords like this. I don't know what just happened there. Let's see what happened. What button did I press? Oh, I know what's happening. Okay, so keep striking. Let's run it back. Here on this ninth, it's almost two matching. So instead of the ninth here, if it's a major chord, we're going to add what's called the perfect fourth, which is the 11th. That's 5 notes up from the root note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could pull that up an octave, or we could just keep it down an octave. Let me count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is called the perfect fourth, or the 11th. It's good for major chords. If you're on a minor chord, try adding the second, which is 2 notes from the root note. This is a nice color tone. Let's just hear it. We just got to make this section. There we go. That sounds a little bit more melodic. What I might do too in the chord is revoice that ninth chord. Because this G is kind of like sticking out like a sore thumb. Let's maybe pull it down an octave. It's called a clustered chord. Now let's take this MIDI and let's transplant it back into pattern 2. This could be better harmonically. I think it's the melodic note too. Let's turn this off. It's either a bass note. We got to figure out what the offending note is. Okay, it's definitely this part. Now here, instead of going dun, dun, we're gonna go dun, dun. Dun. So here's why motifs are so important. It's about the pattern, the rhythm, less about the note value, and the rhythm supersedes. So now we can change out the note, but keep the same motif. There we go. Now it has a little bit more motion. F to C is a perfect fifth. And I want to go dun, 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 dun. Okay. And now it just fits that emotion better. Okay, so that was a lot of work, but when you understand basic music theory, again, when you're playing this, you don't have to click in and draw everything. You're just playing it by hand. But I'm trying to show you guys every little thought process. All right, sorry, y'all. My son just snuck in the room. So I'm out of breath. Okay, so basically now we can add effects and change out the sounds. All right, so I'm listening to this transporter plugin here. So they've updated the plugin for a couple more features, which are pretty helpful. So we're just trying out different time offset. So just little details. Let's run this through reverb. You could also have it pitch it down an octave. So I like that delay because it's very random. It's not your typical delay. going to try the second chord instead of the first chords. Let's just get rid of these chords. They're starting to clash. Okay, so now we're just switching out sound. So I like the sound. I like to get the music done first and then swap out the sounds last. This allows me to go into straight sound design mode as opposed to composition mode. So we got rid of the one layer because it was just competing with this. Basically, we started off 7th chords, then we went into 9th chords. And because we tried to force the 7th chord into a 9th chord zone, it just didn't work right. So that's why I took it out. Also, these chords might be a little dense. Let's try taking out the 5ths of these chords just to see if it lightens it up just a little bit. Also, too, I think it's just that first note. So this is where we have to kind of micro adjust some of these concepts here. So instead of going, let's start it off on a different note. All right, so there's some weird musical clash around here. I got to figure out where it is. So I'm revoicing chords, changing chord types to fit the actual melody. This chord just feels better. So we got to figure out why the sounds. There's like a turn. Let's figure out that note. Might be C. Not sure what note is throwing this off. It's kind of tricky here. There's like a ghost note playing and I can't figure out where it is. It's like, I guess it's just this echo maybe. So because we have echo on the reverb, it overlaps into the next beat. That's why it's so confusing, because there's no actual note here. It's the delay that's playing. It overlaps. So instead of using that half step, let's just use the fifth here. That way we don't have any clashing there. So instead of the half step, I'm just going to get rid of that half step. Due to the echo. So see how we're tightening the idea over time? It's not like this just thing that just is a solid thing from the beginning. So now we just got to make sure everything is cohesive now that we transpose everything. Okay, so now let's go in and actually swap out sounds. I like the bass, it's cool. I feel like we could come up with like a cooler sound though. Let's try some synthetic sound. This sounds pretty cool. It's just a little active every single. So, you know, let's clone this so we can have a duplicate. I like this tone. We have to get rid of some of these rhythmic notes. There's just too many notes. So let's space them out. We can use this as a contrast expression layer. If you don't know what that means, I teach that in my 8 bars to full song video. So let's take out some of these passing notes. Let's quantize this. So now we have more of an accent. The reason I'm overlapping these is because it has a pitch value at the very end. So if I cut that short, it will mess up the actual pitch. So as you guys just saw, it sounded like it was out of key, but that's because the pitch knob was stuck. So FL Studio, I don't know why it's like that. It's just like that. Let's find a bass that like fits this vibe. This is a little too aggressive of a bass. And this bass, again, it wants to be kind of like the other bass, how this wants to be more spread out. So let's just cut out all these in-between notes. Maybe we just don't need these in-between notes. Let's make these notes overlap just a little bit. Okay, so now the composition is becoming more cohesive. Just level these sounds. Okay, so now I'm going to see if we can add some rhythm back in here with the nylon guitar, but this time I'm just going to improv over top these chords. We may do something here, we may not. It's just at least try it. So I like this idea. Dun, 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 dun. Let's add that in. Okay, so just improv in there, using a lot of fifths. And now we have more of like this flow. So you guys can see how melody is not just like do one thing, get it always perfect right away. You got to do a lot of stuff to it sometimes. Now this one I was a little off, so let's quantize. Quantize on FL has been acting really weird for me, so I don't know if you guys have that same issue. Okay, so now we have a cohesive thing. So now this is about getting the sonics right. Let's combine all this. Let's hit Control G, pull this into one pattern, and let's mark the root note so that we don't forget where we started. So D is going to be the root note here. And what we can do on the left side is right click and transpose this. So I like to transpose down 1, down 3, and up 3. So let's do -1. Try out different tones. This one doesn't have a vibe to it, so let's do -2. So that's going to give us -3 from where we started. feel like the second half is way more cohesive than the first half. It seems like some of the chords are not matching. So in this case, changing the transpose is helping me hear what's making this sound off. Okay, so it's just part of the first strumming guitar. It's our philosophy going into it. Basically, we went in with the 7th mindset, and then we changed it to 9ths, and that just didn't clash right. So this sounds way more cohesive. So let's chop out the first half. And we can hear some of those clashes still. That's because I'm using half steps. Let's transpose this up 6, so now we're +3 from the original. So it seems like our best zone is kind of like the middle zone. I don't know what happened on the front and the end zone, but here's the final loop here, 8 bars. There's a couple notes that I have to fix here. I got to figure out where they are. Hard to tell where the notes are. So now some of the notes I played syncopated. I'm just making sure I line up the syncopation with the actual chord so it doesn't just sound offset. Okay, so that feels cohesive. So let's figure out guitar by guitar which one sounds off. So this ding, ding, let's just change that note. So let's make the C. So F to C is a perfect fifth. So that works. Okay, so now let's add this final nylon up top. Let's figure out these notes. This is the one I improv. Okay, so I figured out the issue. It was a timing issue. So here we have this like a step too early. There we go. Now it's not offset. Okay, so just little things like this. That's why I said making melodies is not this, do this, get it perfect, hit export. Sometimes you got to do a lot of stuff. We spent how many minutes on this? This is a 40-minute melody with me instructing you guys, but this is 8 bars. So it took a lot of musicality to kind of chisel it down to this. And I think, again, like I said, when people learn music theory, they think you're going to get everything perfect right away. As you guys can see, it's not the process. We also had to get the sounds to match too. Now the final kind of sonic texture, we already did pretty much everything I would do normally. Let's route everything to the beat mix here. The last thing I'd do, let me reroute everything to the reverbs here. Last thing I would do is maybe compress some of the low mids, but it's not mandatory, especially when you don't really have drums. There's nothing much to mix. And it's already wide, so we don't need to overly widen this, but a good widener, it's called the Stereo Imager from SSL. It just makes your melody sound more full. Now I'm just turning stuff up so I can turn it down. But there's no need to like slam everything through a limiter, especially on this type of sound. Let's try one more thing. So remember we, pulled it up 3 semitones. Let's try our original. Oh, wrong thing there. Let's try our original. So I like the +3. It just sounds a little more emotional. So we see how the chords pretty much led that entire melody. That's why I said chords are what you guys want to study. If you guys want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory in a day. I will guide you through writing melodies. All right, guys, subscribe if you're new. Peace.